Gentlemen, episode 73.
It
We're
always makes
back.
me giggle when you do that. I know it's coming, and yet I still giggle.
I just try to make sure it just gets a little bit more over the top with each episode. That is my goal. So by the time we hit the 100th episode, who knows, late next year or something like that, can't wait to see what that's all about. Oh yeah, episode 73 Cinnamon Man. We are back after a a lonely 2 week hiatus. It's been so long since I've seen your face, Douglas, that it just I was lost in the wilderness. No moral compass.
Well, I'm pretty sure you never have a moral compass, so I don't
Also
think
true.
being anywhere around me has prevented or assisted or any version of debauchery you would or would not take part in.
Would
But I at
always
least
would.
did shave so you could recognize me, whereas last time I was so salty and not just in personality, but in visage as well.
Yeah, I see you're back to your baby faced assassin ways. That's nice to see there.
I wish.
But yeah, get you all shaved out. It's been a couple weeks, man. Since you have last heard our voices, this is the cinnamon myself, the always effervescent Douglas Davidson, man, here to talk movies with you. Now, as we start all of these episodes off with, what have you seen of recently, sir? I just got the one.
You just got the one?
I just got the one. I've had to attend to some other things here. The a little peek behind the curtain. It's been like 3 days since we recorded our last episode. I'm going to be unavailable for the back half of the month, so we're banking this one. So yeah, it's just been a couple days. I've just watched one movie. Been busy doing some other stuff in those intervening days. Actually, I was watching a whole lot of action movies. That just trying to get that list prepared for the 100 action movies. What have you seen
Could
recently?
you tell us about some of those that you've watched
Yeah, I'll
as to
tell
whether or
you.
not you would recommend them or not?
I took it back to 1939, sir. I watched the Adventures of Robin Hood, the Errol Flynn joint,
Oh, right on.
because it's not just action; it's also adventure. That's going to be on the list. My first time watching that joint, it's not going to make the list. I'll say that, but it is a well done, fun fucking movie. If I remember correctly, it's the same year as Wizard of Oz, and who knew that 1939 specifically has some bangers in it. The Wizard of Oz, man, the Adventures of Robin Hood, Errol Flynn, all up in there. It's a good fun ride. I also watched Mr. and Mrs. Smith for the first time. I bought the DVD when it first came out and loaned it to a friend before I could watch it, and that was the last I ever saw of Mr. and Mrs. Smith. So almost 20 years later, I'm finally getting around to checking it out. Another movie that won't make the list, but a good fun popcorn action flick with Brad Pitt being Brad Pitt and Angelina Jolie being Angelina Jolie, basically for the most part, and Vince Vaughn being Vince Vaughn. This is a very much the casting people are like, just show up and be yourselves in this movie, and you'll do all right. And there's a third movie in there as well that I watched yesterday that I is I watched La Femme Nikita. There it is. I watched the
Ooh,
French Jaunt, man.
yep.
From the one of the early Luc Besson movies. That's also very, very good, man. I enjoyed that shit as well. The movie that I will talk about is I watched Baby Assassins off the strength of you talking about it, I think 2 episodes ago. 2 or 3 episodes ago, you talked about Baby Assassins.
I've been talking about it for a year.
Not Ninja Babies, but we did watch Baby Assassins, directed by
That'll be the Netflix series, The Rise of the Ninja Babies.
Ninja Babies. I like it.
That'll be it, The Rise of the Ninja Babies. And then eventually we'll get, after a couple of seasons, The Rise of the Ninja Babies, the movie.
mhm.
And then it'll just be this whole other thing.
I like it. It's the Ninja Baby universe that we're
Yeah.
creating right here. Baby Assassins, directed by Yugo Sakamoto and also written by Yugo Sakamoto.
Mhm.
It's about two high school girls who are about to graduate. They also happen to be highly skilled assassins who are living together when the organization they work for, they want them to live together, basically.
Mhm.
Uh, and hijinks ensue is the best way of putting it. This has 100% the feel of The Odd Couple. Is basically
Mhm.
what it was. You get a little Felix Unger action going on in there. It's polar opposite personality wise. They're both fairly effective assassins. But when it comes to just their actual personalities and how they choose to live their lives, they couldn't be more opposite. One very bubbly, very outgoing, a little bit too effervescent, one might say, as the other one is very quiet, very withdrawn, tends to connect more with technology than she does with people, and that difference in personality does lead to some sparks flying, and also leads to some comedies. This is a bit of an action comedy.
Oh yeah.
Um, for me, where comedy lies, Asian cinema doesn't quite nail the comedy for me. Especially living in Korea, seeing how they write and produce their comedy and seeing what they have on their television shows. It always just seems to be a couple of years behind American comedy, and I felt a little bit of that here in Baby Assassins. Some of the things that were going for the punch, I think, or a little bit overblown, or I don't want to say overly hammed up, because there's still some good comedy in hammed up, but they went too far going to get the joke, I guess is the best way I could say it. But still, there's some good shit in there. The action, there's a really great hand-to-hand action scene there at in the third act that is mwah, chef's kiss as far as a great action scene. So it as well, the comedy doesn't work for me, but if you're just looking for a good fun action movie, it still works in that regard. The plot is, most action comedies generally tend to have a fairly simplistic plot, and this is a fairly simplistic plot. But that simplistic plot still gives way to good action and just ridiculous moments of absurdity as well,
Which there are plenty of.
which there are plenty of. So there you go, Baby Assassins. If you're in the market for something foreign language, and you've run out of, you've exhausted all your other options, you're tired of watching The Raid over and over again, there you go, watch Baby Assassin. And who tires of watching The Raid?
Okay, first of all, yes to that statement, but also this is not a, if you have, to me, this is not a, if you've watched everything else and you've exhausted your options. I love this movie. It's one of my favorite movies from last year. I am excited that it's on home video. I've watched it twice already since it's been on home video. It is goddamn delightful. The action is so well structured. And I disagree on the comedy in that I feel like everything's elevated. So to me, it doesn't ever reach the trying to reach for a joke, trying to get the laugh. What I always think of the line, and it's Aaron Sorkin with Studio 60 on the Sunset Strip, but they're working on a sketch, and the character goes, why didn't I get the laugh here? He goes, you asked for the laugh. Well, why did it work in Dress? You asked for the butter. And that's the difference in the comedy, is that when you're authentic to the moment, you get the laugh. But when you're actually trying to play for laughs, it doesn't work. And for me, it's like towards the end of the movie, one girl is getting screamed at by the remaining Yakuza. And she's like, fine, tell me where you are. I'll fucking kill you. And da 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 da. Gets off the phone. Beat, looks at her roommate. Will you help me? Like, it's just, and the whole movie is like that to a degree. So I have a question for you, because you watched it recently, and now I can ask you this. So there's the two girls. The first girl, it opens with, she's supposed to be going for a job interview, and she's supposed to be undercover and then kill the guy that runs the place, but she's like, fuck it, has a fantasy sequence, and then just murders him right there.
Mm-hmm.
Later on, her roommate gets called in to go to her day job while she's supposed to be doing wet work, convinces her roommate to do the rest of the job for her, goes to her work, kills everybody there, and then when she comes home, she says, yeah, I got fired. So, did she actually murder those people? Was that her fantasy? Or did she actually get fired?
She actually got fired. She actually murdered those people.
You think it was both?
I think, well, I guess it can't be both. You can't, if you murder the person who was going to fire you, then you can't get fired. Well, I mean, no, I think she
lose your job, but like, it's such a specific description of what happened. Yeah. I got fired, that's like, we just watched you break your boss's neck with your one hand.
I think she actually did it
Okay.
because for the other one where it is the daydream, I think that
Mm-hmm.
makes sense specifically because of her inability to interact with people.
Mm-hmm.
That makes sense. Where we see the one who quote unquote got fired from her day job, we see that she's incredibly comfortable with people. It's just these particular people just fucking pushed the wrong buttons and got to her. And Moira.
I think it's just, and that's part of what I love about this movie is that the two of them, the one thing that they're comfortable with is killing people. Like they're sociopaths. They have no problem whatsoever. And what I love about the actor who's I don't have her name in front of me, I apologize. Um, but what I love about the way that she plays the character and that character is that you can almost see the light go out when she goes to kill someone. Like it's very cold and dispassionate. And yes, she's murdering them on instinct, but at the same time, it's like she dissociates. I fucking love it.
Yeah, yeah.
It's great.
There you go.
So
There
there,
you have it.
so there you have it. I've actually watched since we've last recorded. I've watched a couple of things. You said as long as you were pulling back the curtain, I wasn't going to do that, but this is probably going to go up towards the end of the month that we're recording this, right?
Yeah.
So after a certain event takes place this month, possibly.
Yes, yes.
Yes.
This will be.
Then
It'll
I'm
be.
going to
Yeah.
recommend another well go release, Alienoid. Okay, this film comes out on the 26th in select theaters. I got to see this. I got a screener early on. I was covering Fantasia, Fantasia International Film Festival, where it's screened, but it was also screening as part of the New York Asian Film Festival. So I found someone and they were able to get me a screener. My review is going to be coming out soon. This movie is awesome. It's directed by Choi Dong-hoon. This is a first part of a two-part action comedy period sci-fi time travel movie.
Okay.
So, the short version of the plot is that after a war on another planet, the aggressors who lost the war, and when they're being kept as prisoners, are being inserted into the brains of humans and are tethered to them. And they're supposed to remain dormant. And on Earth, there is a guard who is basically a lone prison guard who makes sure that if anybody wakes up, that they that the alien is either put back into their jail cell, which is a human, or completely dispatched. And make sure that any new ships that come in to drop off prisoners gets all the prisoners get put into a prison. That's going on, and a jailbreak happens. Meanwhile, back in like 600 years prior, there's a Dosa priest who is a bit of a warrior priest who is looking for a sacred object, but other people are looking for that sacred object, other gifted warriors in Korea, other doses. And so the past and the future storylines intersect by the end of the film. And in the past, granted, this is a Korean film, but there's a lot of stuff that is very familiar in terms of the wire work and the sort of mysticism and magic that we've seen in particularly a lot of Chinese films. So, for example, there are two masters that they sell charms, and it might be a sheet of paper that if you attach it, a person can't move. So it's a freezing charm. Or they've got a mirror that if you hold something up to it and go through the mirror, whatever goes through gets bigger. Okay. So they sell these wares that they make. And our lead Dosa, he's got a fan that he can conjure two cats to come out of, who then turn into humans who fight side by side with him as right paw and left paw. It's wild. It's weird. There's a lot of exposition. unfortunately, but it's worth the ride. And if you get the chance to see it, I highly recommend it. The CG isn't great when it goes full CG, but I do feel like if you are comfortable in a movie theater, you will have a good fucking time with this. And the sequel is supposed to come out next year in 2023. I am ready for it.
Well, there you go. All right.
I'm ready for it. So that comes with a high recommendation. Another movie that you can check out online, just to at least give you one other film to check out, is a Norwegian film called Wild Men. It's directed by Thomas Daneskov. Uh, it's a film about a man who goes off into the wilderness to live like a Viking. He comes across a wounded man, goes to help him, and doesn't realize that this is an international drug runner who is got involved in a car crash with his buddies on the way to deliver money. Hilarity and comedy ensue.
Okay. Oh, this is a comedy.
It's a darkly comic thriller.
Okay.
Yeah. It is a little weird. It's a little wild. It'll have comedic elements that'll seem familiar in some regards. It reminded me a little bit of Martin McDonagh's work specifically. So a little bit of Seven Psychopaths, a little bit of In Bruges, that type of humor. But what I found particularly fascinating, and I actually owe a documentary I watched called Howl of the Underdogs about the Norwegian band Matter Modum. Matter Mortem. Excuse me, they're a heavy metal band. That, by the way, if you like heavy metal, and in particular Norwegian heavy metal, go check out Howl of the Underdogs. I think you'll dig it. But they bring up a term that's used in Norway, which refers to the way that when we live a life where we are not special. You are not better than anyone else. You are not more capable than anyone else. Everyone is on the same tier, which makes doing anything exceptional feel like you're breaking the rules, which is part of what the documentary Howl of the Underdogs talks about. How that works in Wild Men is, imagine you grow up in that society and then you feel strong feelings. How do you express them? How do you feel like you can connect with someone when you feel less than? And so a lot of Wild Men is about that exploration of this guy runs off into the woods to prove that he's a man because he's too fucking afraid and incapable of talking to his wife. And it's funny and it's sweet and it's heartfelt. So if you're looking for something a little different, I would recommend it.
There you go. Boom. That's two for you.
Yeah. Yep. So I've watched a bunch of other stuff, and we'll have reviews coming up on EOM for you as well.
I like it. What is our topic for today, sir?
Topic for today. This is one of those times where I wish I had a silly gag to go with it. I meant to look this up. Our topic for today actually was born from TikTok, from a TikTok I saw where someone had created a thing of what is your favorite fourth wall break? And the one that crossed my paths was someone showing off Robin Hood Men in Tights, where it gets to the part of Robin Hood where he goes to the competition and he wins, except in Men in Tights, he loses. Carrie Elways pulls out the script. Wait, that's not how this is supposed to go. And he starts flipping through the script, and everybody starts going around him until suddenly someone goes, he gets a do-over. Wait, what? And other people are pulling out the script. Sheriff is pulling out the script, and Prince John. No, that can't be. Fuck. All right, go again.
Good old Mel.
Right? So I thought it would be fun to discuss our favorite wall breaks. And it's sort of weird because going through this, there were some that immediately came to mind. But then some that came to mind, like JCVD has a phenomenal fourth wall break. It absolutely does. Kiss Kiss Bang Bang is almost entirely, it's narrated to us, but it ends specifically with them talking to us. Ferris Bueller, and if you talk about Ferris Bueller, you have to mention Deadpool, because Deadpool ripped off Ferris Bueller in particular at the end of its movie, even though Deadpool constantly talks to everybody all the time anyway. Gremlins 2, speaking of TikTok, that one has a great fourth wall break with Hulk Hogan screaming at the gremlins in the projector, except apparently on VHS, it's Looney Tunes. It's Looney Tunes doing it. I saw another TikTok of someone giving that as an example,
Hmm.
and I was like, "Are you fucking kidding me?" Funny Games has one. Just in case you mention it, there's a 007 fourth wall break I forgot about, and if it's on your list, I don't want to mention it. Funny Games. Let's see. Uh, Blazing Saddles, of course. Wayne's World, the Big Short. There's tons of them, and so I thought it would be fun to go through ours.
All right then, sir. Go ahead and get us kicked off then.
Mine is probably not going to be a popular one, my first one, but it's I guess one might describe it, if someone wanted to be catty or cruel, might describe it as a Douglas recommendation.
Mm-hmm.
But
I know those well.
yes, I know you do. But this is the 1992 Bruce A. Evans Cuffs. It is an action comedy for those that aren't familiar with it, starring Christian Slater and Tony Goldwyn. It's about a young man whose brother, who I believe was played by Bruce Boxleiter, who runs a private security business. So they're sort of cops.
Mm-hmm.
It's privatized cops in the same way that OCP and RoboCop are cops. And his brother gets killed. Well, because of how the business is done and everything else, Christian Slater, plays George, is the next one to run the business. And he's sort of a fuck up. He's a whatever. However, his college age girlfriend is pregnant and he needs to take care of her. That, by the way, is a very young Mila Jovovich. And
Oh.
she is fantastic in this. She's just hilarious and whatever. But Christian Slater this is 92. This is like peak Slater.
Yes, 92 is peak Slate. That's right
Yeah,
after Star
and
Trek
he is so
6.
much fun, and he's constantly talking to the camera, and he's just so goddamn charming and so much fun that whether you've seen this movie or not, I recommend a visit or a revisit, and it's just charming. So it was the first movie that came to mind, so that was the first one I wanted to mention.
All right then. Very nice, very nice. The first movie for me that came to mind, man, uh, Coming to America.
Okay.
Specifically, we get the big, what's supposed to be the wedding. We get the big dance celebration. We know he's not comfortable with this idea of two people not in love. Takes
Mhm.
his bride to be aside to a room to have a conversation with her, and that's how we get I was basically raised as a possibility to be your wife. No interests of her own, none of that kind of nonsense. Everything she likes, he likes. I'll do whatever you tell me to. And then begins, thus ensues the ridiculousness, the hop up and down on one foot, bark like a dog, bark like a little dog, bark like a big dog, woof, woof. And he turns to look at the camera just to accentuate the absurdity, A, of the scene, and B, I think, underlying the absurdity of this reality that this happens in places of people, raised to be bartered off, essentially, to royalty or dignitaries, whatever the case may be. That in conjunction with, he brings it back for, I can't remember which comes first, Coming to America or Trading Places, whichever one comes first.
That's
It's Trading
literally what I'm
Places.
looking up right
Trading
now.
Places comes first because you have to have Trading Places to have the scene in Coming to America. So I always think of those two back to back, where he does the fourth wall break in Coming to America, but also does the fourth wall break in Trading Places when they explain to him bacon like a BLT sandwich, and he looks at the camera like, well, these motherfuckers don't know what a we all know what a BLT sandwich is. Again, to highlight the absurdity of the situation and not talking to the audience at all, just the look like you're on my side on this, right? And helps bring
Can
the
you believe these
audience.
fuckers?
Yeah, can you
Like,
believe these fuckers? Or in this Coming to America, this fucker in particular, can you believe
or what
it?
more like in the case of Coming to America, I would feel like it would be more like a what the fuck am I dealing with here?
Yeah, you see the situation I got to deal with, one of those
Mm-hmm.
type deals. A silent fourth wall break there.
Mm-hmm. Oh, very, very well done. I yeah. That one, the Trading Places one, came up in my research because it's we've talked about it before. It's not one of my favorite Eddie Murphy movies.
I love it. I love
Um,
unhinged Dan Aykroyd by the end of it.
oh,
Dirty ass Santa suit.
for some reason I could just never get into it. It was always on Comedy Central, but in the same way that I was never really into the 48 Hours movies, I only saw those I think like a year ago for the first time. Um, but I went and revisited. Yeah, I went and revisited Trading Places. Paramount did a home release of a bunch of Eddie Murphy movies in the run up to when Coming to America was supposed to come out. And I watched it with Crystal. She fucking loves that movie. She loves Trading Places. And I was like, definitely an Eddie Murphy movie.
Hell
Like,
yeah, it is.
yay.
Love that
No, I
movie.
mean, and I don't say that in a bad way. It's just for some reason it doesn't resonate or connect with me whatsoever. Whereas I watched Golden Child for the first time during that period for like decades, and I was like, shit, I love this. This is fucking great.
See, to me,
So,
Golden Child just seems like a total knockoff of Big Trouble in Little China. So, like,
oh,
my camp was like, you were one or the other. Like, you were Big Trouble in Little China or you were Golden Child. You were 30 Rock or you were Community. You were Wire, you're Breaking Bad.
well, I'm exhausted and in pieces.
There you
So
go.
where's that? Never mind.
You be somewhere in the
Um,
middle.
I love Big Trouble in Little China. It's one of my top three favorite John Carpenter movies.
Mm-hmm.
Period.
Mm-hmm.
And mostly because old Jack is fucking worthless in that entire movie.
Best worst sidekick of all time.
Best for a
When
sidekick who thinks he's
who
the
thinks he's the
lead
hero?
character.
Yeah, how often did the sidekick get movies? He didn't even know he's a sidekick. God, the ignorance. Kurt Russell, give us one more, please.
He's so good at it.
He's so good at it, man. I need more Kurt Russell comedies. What is your
Number
second
two,
pick, sir?
another movie that is decidedly falls underneath, and not all of these do, but would probably fall under the Douglas category,
Mm-hmm.
except it is so fucking good. It's got a cult following. Is the 1988 John DeBello Return of the Killer Tomatoes?
Yes, yes.
I love this movie. And part of the reason why I love it is the fourth wall break.
Mm-hmm.
It's the fact that they're at some point in the cast, the characters, whatever, realize that they don't have enough money to finish. And a young George Clooney, who's one of the leads, goes, "Wait a minute, I got something for this." And when they cut back, he's drinking a Pepsi, and they're doing all this. Like
All
he's
the
just
sponsorship
so
shit.
blatantly doing what Wayne's World spoofs.
Yeah, would do later on.
George Clooney is doing with sincerity
Mm-hmm.
as the character, and it's just this wonderful send up of how much product placement often takes place in movies. It's less noticeable in smaller films, but very noticeable in the blockbusters.
Yeah.
Um,
IHOP got fucked up in Man of Steel.
Probably not as bad as Krispy Kreme got in Power Rangers, although Rita did talk about how much she loved them. So
Plink.
but but yeah, that I just there's just something about them sitting around and being like, "Hey, we need to save this movie." I know. This is the taste of a new like yes. That's my humor. That's my style. Have you
Excellent.
seen it? Have you seen Return of the Killer Tomatoes?
I saw Attack years ago, never saw Return. I
I
saw
don't
Attack
know
and I
if
was
I've
like,
ever
I'm
seen
good
Attack.
here. Oh,
What's
really?
that?
That's it. I saw Attack and I'm like, I'm good here.
I don't know if I've ever seen. I have to think. I bet I saw Return of the Killer Tomatoes on Up All Night on USA many years ago.
Mm-hmm.
That's how I saw things like Zapped and a bunch of other shit I was probably too young to be watching, but my parents didn't give a shit because they were in bed.
Yeah, for me, it was like maybe like college. A bunch of people are like, "Come on over, we're all gonna put this horrible movie on and watch it and enjoy it," and kind of that whole communal experience. But yeah,
Oh yeah.
I was like, that's enough of tomatoes for me. My second one, you did mention it is on my list, man. On Her Majesty's Secret Service, aka one of my top five favorite James Bond movies. If not, maybe number one. I love On Her Majesty's Secret Service. That is my kinship with Chris Nolan. That is also his number one favorite Bond movie. Also up there for Reyes, guest of the show. He's a big fan of Secret Service as well.
That's right.
You get the the pre title sequence, which is standard for our James Bond movies. This is the first not Connery Bond movie we've gotten. So Lazenby's coming onto the scene, man. People are trying to figure out what's this new cat going to be about. How's he going to stack up against Sean Connery? We get pretty fucking well done action movie. You have no idea what's going on here. He's just rescuing this girl from committing suicide, and all of a sudden, these guys come out of nowhere. He gets a 3-on-1 fight. Boats are involved, and boat oars and fishing nets, and you don't know what's going on. Fighting in the beach, fighting on the sand. And the woman he's trying to rescue steals his car to get back to her car, and it takes off. And as that whole scene transpires, just for the briefest seconds, he looks right into the camera. He says, "This never happened to the other fella." Or his eye line is just past camera. It says, "This never happened to the other fella." Then shifts right into the camera's viewpoint, gives you that little grin, and then boom, cut to the title sequence. It's played for the laugh. But it also lets you know that this is not Connery. It's kind of setting that expectation. I'm not him. So if you come into this movie expecting a Connery type dude, then you're going to be in for something completely different. I'm my own character, and if only not for one movie, but he is much different than how Connery played the character, and that's the first signal to let you know that this is not your older brother's Connery. Your older brother's James Bond, I should say.
I haven't seen it in decades, and
I've
got no. Well, keep in mind that even
there's
though
25 of these fucks to choose from, so it kind of makes sense.
That right there. I was actually slowly working on doing a Craig revisit, and I got through. Yeah, I have Spectre and No Time to Die to rewatch, and I started this months ago. I just haven't had the time to sit down and give them my attention, but I've got them all. I literally have, thanks to Crystal. It was one of the first like Amazon Day things that they were doing, Prime
Day,
and they sold the collection of 23 with a space for the 24th. That's how old this collection is. For like super fucking cheap.
Yep.
And I came home and it was just here, and that's how I knew I'd married well. But so I've got them all. And there's some that I've seen every single one at least once, but I can't tell you when I saw on Her Majesty's Secret Service. And I've wanted to revisit it for a long time, particularly because if I remember right, Pierce Brosnan's character actually keeps that backstory in
Tomorrow Never Dies.
Yeah. So
also Roger Moore he puts flowers on Tracy's grave at the beginning of one of his movies as well. That stupid theory that it's all a code name given to different people does not work due to that one scene of Roger Moore's Bond putting the flowers on, dude putting flowers on another random dude's dead's wife. No, that's not happening. It's all the same James Bond character. But yeah,
except for Craig.
Yeah, that's a whole different world. Well, yeah. Do yourself a favor, sir, and sit down. And for me, it was always December because TBS ran Bond shit all throughout December. So every December, I set some time aside if I have some opportunities to, and I try to watch like 5-6 Bond movies throughout the month, and I try to rotate them throughout the year.
Part of a decision we made when Connor was like 2, so about 5 years ago, we got rid of TV. So if it's not streaming or if we don't have a copy of it, we don't watch it. So like I would do the same thing, whether it was TBS or another channel when I was growing up that ran all the Bond movies. Can't do that now. Can't just flip to the holy shit, that movie's on.
Yeah.
No, we don't have those moments in my house anymore of, oh, this movie's on, we must sit and watch it. Instead, it's, oh, you're watching that movie? Fuck, I love that movie. Scoot over. I'm going to sit with you now.
For us, that's Pluto TV now, since it's free, and you'll just be flipping through like what's because they have just a dedicated like Star Trek channel, a dedicated Mission Impossible channel, And I'm like,
Nice.
oh shit, I can come into there's a joint that just plays American Gladiators all day.
Wait, what?
Yeah, so you can just flip
We can see
through.
Blaze and Laser
Can you
and then
see?
Blazer?
Yeah, you can see Nitro and Ice and all the gang there.
I used to love that show.
We still do, man. And the Game Show Network is on there as well, man. They play legit movies, so they still get occasionally that you can scroll through for $0 and 0 cents. Be like, oh shit, I didn't know
So
they'd
it's
be
like Tubi.
playing. Yeah, it's exactly like Tubi.
Awesome.
There's, I think most smart TVs have an app for it, and it is for me built for just scrolling until I find something ridiculous, and I can come in the middle of any Mission Impossible episode and still be hook, line, and sinker because I love that show. But anyways,
No, no,
off topic, yeah,
thank you. Because just the other day I put on, I was waiting for Crystal and she was busy with one of the kids because fuck sleep. Why would
yeah.
we want to sleep when everything is so exciting? So I ended up restarting Reacher on
Yeah,
Prime,
yeah.
and it's so good.
So good, man. So good. This
And
episode sponsored by Pluto. Also, all the TV shows and whatnot, you can just they have them like how we experienced TV when we were young,
yeah,
like 5 to 5:30 is this show. But a lot of times they also have those on like a side thing where you can just start at episode one and binge your way through it if you want. So they have old school TV watching, and I can just go scroll through the sci-fi movie section and pick something to watch as well. As long as you're good with ads, then Pluto TV, it's for you.
I'm of the generation that is still like whenever an ad popped up on YouTube Kids or something else, and Connor would get upset, we'd be like, it's called a commercial. Da da da. We started we started showing Connor Avatar: The Last Airbender because he's going into second grade, and we're doing, we want to start bringing up serious topics, and he's like, "Why is it cutting to black? What's going on?" And then so I hear Crystal explaining. So this is called a transition because there
Mm-hmm.
would be commercials in between. It wouldn't just run all the way through. So they have to have space for that.
Yeah.
But that's a whole other conversation. He's hungry.
You see, kid, here's what ad revenue is.
It's like trying to explain a VHS or a cassette to a kid that's only experienced a disc or streaming.
Streaming,
It's
yeah.
literally that sort of contextual divide. So, what's an ad? What's a commercial?
All the
Anyway,
shit you're watching, it ain't free. What is your last fourth wall break, sir?
well, it actually works out really well with all of this because when I was going through and trying to think, I went, you know what? I have to do this one. Not only if we're just picking three favorites right now, this has to be a movie that if I had to pick a top whatever, this would be near the top. It's from one of my favorite writers, favorite directors. I've probably seen this movie more than the films that it spoofs. It's the 1987 Mel Brooks Spaceballs.
Spaceballs. Mel Brooks for the win, coming in the number one spot there.
Because when will then be now?
Just now.
Soon.
Oh yeah, soon. Yeah.
Where are they? Wait a minute. I know. Let's check Mr. Rental.
Yeah.
What are you talking about? Well, with the wonderful technology and home viewing experiences, we can actually get this ready for home viewing before we finish the movie. What? Yeah, let's just put it in. We'll fast forward. And then, dark
Fast
helmet's
forward through the
getting all
whole movie.
uncomfortable. No, 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 no,
Yeah.
no, no. Let's fast forward. In fact, let's never talk about this again. Just keep going. Stop. Wait, what's going on? We've reached now, sir. Like, I can literally this we've reached the now. Wait, when? We just missed it. When? Just now.
It's the best scene, I think. Second best scene. Best scene, second best bit of jokes in the movie for me.
Oh, and that movie has so many. This is the movie that got me ready for Alien.
The John Hurt reprisal there, coming out doing the song and dance.
Because I knew about that scene well before I knew about the horror movie. And incidentally, I made a reference to this when we were trying to change Preston, who is at the age where he don't want to sit still.
Mm-hmm.
And so trying to change a diaper is like dealing with a feral cat.
Yes.
Which is, fun. But he was making these noises and all I could think of was, oh no, not again. Which isn't a fourth wall break, but that fourth wall break scene in Spaceballs is just so fucking wonderful and so perfect. And it's not just a break for the sake of winking at the camera, or with any of the other two ones that I brought up, where it's, hey, wait, I can fix this movie, or I'm going to narrate to you while I try to survive this calamitous situation I'm in. It's literally, we're going to pretend that we're not actually actors, but characters who are aware that they're in a fictional movie.
Yeah.
And there's just something about the whole thing that is just ridiculous. And I love every second of it.
Yeah, riding off the back of that, man. Of course, Mel Brooks rocking the one spot, man. It's Blazing Saddles for me.
Oh, the literal fourth wall break.
It does break down the wall, that the whole the dancing set there. Stick out to tush. That whole the whole play last what 10, 12 minutes of that movie when they transition, they have the world's best crane shot of all time, and it comes out of the town of Rock Ridge, and you see it's the Warner Brothers backlot or whatever. It goes, the fight spills out onto other sets, the musical number, the cafeteria. They got the Hitler bunker joke. Where do they lose you? Just after the bunker scene. That whole thing goes down. The food fight there in the cafeteria. Harvey Korman thinking he's gonna escape being caught in the food fight, and then someone gets him in the bathroom, and he comes out with the pie all over his face, and all of that screw you, we work for Mel Brooks, punches the director in the face. That's so, some of those jokes right there, a bit dated, but a lot of great stuff happening, all the way down to them running into the theater to see how the movie they're in ends is, quite reminiscent of what they do there in Spaceballs. And yeah, with Sheriff Bart having the showdown there with Harvey Korman, so great. And then giving the shout out to the stunt man. How you do those great stunts with such small feet? Or his last words before he dies. It's great. And then of course the last joke of the movie with Cleveland Little and Gene Wilder riding off into the sunset, getting into the Cadillac, and then driving off into the distance. So much greatness compacted in such a small amount of time that only Mel Brooks could give us these scenes.
Just, yes. God.
Yeah, love that movie.
I just want to go watch it now.
It's my Easter tradition, sir. I have not failed a year since 2009 watching this every single Easter.
I'm sure I've told you this. I used to use portions, well, one scene specifically, because you would have to be very careful about which Blazing Saddles portion you would show to a group of students in a classroom.
Oh, yes.
It's a college course that I was teaching, but I did have high school students in it. But for a little while, I was using, when we would talk about delivery and timing while giving speeches, I would show as an example the scene. I think it's when they first meet each other. When they first meet each other, and what's his face is still drunk, and he's talking about how he's got his hand out, and he's like, I used to be this great thing, and
yeah,
but you look
it's straight as an arrow or whatever.
Yeah, but this is my shooting hand, and he's just waving the whole time. And the laughter I'd still get in the classroom from that one sequence, it's like, that's what we're talking about. It's about the setup. It's about giving it room to breathe. It's about setting expectation, and then boom, coming in. You don't rush it. And when you're giving, and then I'd apply that to the logic and style of public speaking, because I was trying to find any fucking way to make it
sneak some Blazing Saddles in there.
Also, that
one
of my life goals was to find a way to use all of my pop culture knowledge, all of the music, the books, video games, whatever, and bring it together into a career. And for a while, that was with teaching, because I could use anything. So I used movie trailers. I used fan-made stuff to show how things can be twisted and adjusted. I took clips straight from movies to explain. The number of times I've shown the opening of Sin City.
Oh, classic.
I showed that because I have everybody watch it, and then he kills her, and you can tell when people who weren't paying attention suddenly start paying it. What the fuck did we just see? Oh, were you not expecting that? Were you not paying attention? He's talking about how he was stalking her the entire conversation.
Yep.
Anyway,
Good shit.
Anyway,
Good shit.
Blazing Saddles. Well
Yeah.
done.
And
Well done.
Spaceballs. It seems we were on the same wavelength there when it at least came to part of this. Excellent shit.
Yay!
Yeah. All right. Challenges, man. We got some challenges to get through as well.
We do. I hope you enjoyed yours. I very much enjoyed mine.
Here
And
we go.
I mostly gave you yours to be a little shit
Yes.
because family don't quit.
Family.
So so would you like to go first or would you like me to go first?
I'll go first. I was given Hobbs and Shaw because
Punished.
Doug continues my torture. Yeah, no, I had a blast with this movie, man. It's it's what it set out to be, a good, fun popcorn movie.
Yeah.
Nothing too deep, just over the top nonsense that you can laugh at. It's just The Rock being charming. Jason Statham is a great straight man in comedy. And he has a real gift for being a straight man in comedy, and he plays it here well. Vanessa Kirby getting some good lines in there as well. Idris Elba just hamming it up all over the place.
Mm-hmm.
It's just a great fun. I'm assuming this was a summer blockbuster movie. Great summer August. See, there's always that one sleeper at the end of the summer that'll get you, man. I loved it, man. I had a great fun time watching this movie.
Awesome.
Yeah, not all I say. We know what Fast and Furious is. It's not a need to go into the deeper themes of the movie and whatnot. It's two spies. It's another odd couple joint. People with differing opinions that we've seen in previous movies have to put that shit aside to kill Black Superman.
Yeah. Technically, they didn't kill him. It was technically they didn't. Yeah. The ghost in the machine that did that.
The disembodied voice that did that for him.
People wondered if that was going to be Han. No. Seriously, people were wondering if, since his death, someone had done something, whatever, and he'd gotten involved with this group and blah blah. Like, people were going deep. I don't know if you picked up on Statham's line to his sister, Shaw's character, to his sister right before the big fight in Hawaii, about how he's done things that he needs to make amends for. Yeah. And that was the writer's literal attempt to be like, okay, we're going to acknowledge that Shaw's done some fucked up shit and we're giving him a face turn, so we need to address these things.
Yeah, you got to at least put it out there on the table before. You can't just ignore
it. Yeah. And actually, in case you weren't aware, do you know who directed this?
Leach, man.
Yeah.
You
didn't enjoy Bullet Train all that much.
No.
But you got this one.
I got this one, man. Leach and Stahelski. I'm telling you, those guys are some of the forefronts for that style of over the top fun action movies. And I'm here for both of them.
The one thing that bothered me about this movie on rewatches is the fact that Hobbs keeps saying that he doesn't have a team and he works alone. Except prior to this movie, Hobbs had a team. Mm-hmm. Most of them either got beat or left, just got written off. And he's working with Toretto's crew.
Yeah.
So he's part of that crew. But this version of Hobbs works alone.
Is he a part of the crew, or is he like a special guest star of the crew? If he's family, he's like second cousin.
As far as everybody else, he was still showing up to Sunday dinner.
That's true.
So that's one of those things that bothered me more than Shaw becoming a face, because I did like that we see that he's pissed off at Toretto and them for what they did to his brother.
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, when he realizes his brother was being manipulated and that Toretto he's willing to admit his mistake, but he also killed Han, so the audience is pissed.
Right.
Which is why you need to watch the next one.
Nah, I think I'm good there.
No.
F9? Is that what's left? Oh yeah. Boy, no thanks.
Yeah. You need to watch F9 because then there's Fast 10, your seatbelts, and you need to be ready for that.
Ready for a movie that I plan on never watching.
But you can plan, you can try, you can run. It's inevitable. But just so you know, because the Han question gets addressed in 9, and you get to see John Cena somehow get the shit kicked out of him by Vin Diesel.
Oh, man, if I cared, I'd love it.
And then there's fun with magnets. It's great.
I'm sure it is, sir. I'm
You'll see.
sure it is.
You'll see.
Oh, okay. What do you have, sir?
What do I have? I had an equally good time that started out incredibly frustrating.
Mm-hmm.
I was watching Dan Trachtenberg's brand new movie, Prey, that is streaming on Hulu. And why did it start out frustrating? Because for some reason, I was watching it in the room I'm sitting in now, my office television, Apple TV. And when I went to put it on, I went to put on the Comanche version because I wanted to hear the dub. I wanted to watch it with that. But the icon that popped up when I hit play on the top right was only for like info or something else, but it wouldn't let me select the subtitles. It was absolutely missing.
Mm-hmm.
That night, I think it was in the bedroom, different Apple TV device. I pulled up Hulu. There it was. I was like, are you fucking kidding me? I could have watched it in subtitles in my bedroom on my 30-inch TV.
Wow, wow.
Yeah, I was so mad. But the movie itself is fucking great. I mean, it really is. It takes a while to really get going, but I loved, and honestly, I've been hearing about it for a while since its wide release, so about a week. But everybody there was like, she doesn't have any training and she doesn't have this, she doesn't have that. I'm going, so you came to this movie with an idea about what you thought it was, and then you ignored the movie.
Mm-hmm.
They show her hunting. The movie fucking starts with her hunting and hearing and seeing the ship.
Mm-hmm.
She knows it's out there. We see her doing stuff. Is she as good of a hunter as her brother? Not necessarily. But not only does she know how to use an axe, we see her throwing it and practicing, but then she's even like, I'm going to turn this, and I forget what the fucking name of the weapon is in Japan, but fucking Scorpion has it, right? She does that shit to her axe so that she can just whip it back and forth or pull it back into her hand. We see her practice.
Yep. Sure
we
do.
see her use it. We see specific locations that come up later, her go through it, her deal with how to use that terrain, so she has knowledge of the terrain. This movie took its time to introduce us to the character and watch her do things. Now, does it keep having her freeze up over and over again? Yes. To a point where I was a little like, come on, let's see you push it a little bit. But the way that the movie ends, I literally fist bumped. It was fucking, like, at this point, I can probably spoil it. The fact that she took his helmet, realizing that she's using that for targeting, sticks it where the predator doesn't realize, so that when he goes to shoot her, he doesn't realize he's shooting himself in the face. Oh, it was great.
Like, that was dope, but the having the predator accidentally cut his own hand off, and then him look at it like, this wasn't supposed to happen.
Wait, where'd my hand go?
Like, as far as I know, the Predator's never gotten a comedic bit before, and that was this nice little bit of, she pins him down, tries to hit him with another attack, and that just instinctive reflex for him to put the shields up, not realizing that his own hand was in the way. Chops it off, and he's just like, this could present problems. It's good. That final fight scene is great.
The final fight scene is great, and everything before it is incredibly satisfying. The fight with the fur traders, for example, is wonderful. And I didn't realize that it was intentional that we wouldn't understand what they were saying, because I was watching the English dub and I was like, fuck, are my subtitles fucked up? Like, what's going on? So I did turn them on and was like, speaks French.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, okay, I'm not supposed to know what they're saying.
It's all body
I ran into
language
that
and
issue with
intonation.
What's that?
It's all body language and intonation.
Exactly.
You got to roll from.
I wasn't sure, because the first time I watched Jungle Cruise, for example, the screener that Disney provided didn't have subtitles anytime anyone spoke anything other than English.
And you just had no idea what Jesse Plemons was saying.
What's that?
You just had no idea what Jesse Plemons was saying the whole time.
Well, no, he did speak English, but when the conquistadors were speaking Spanish, in the beginning of the goddamn movie, and they're doing whatever they're doing, it for me, I was like, well, that's a really bold move. That's okay. I've got to infer with that's cool. I can dig that. You're not making them speak English. Awesome, because they wouldn't,
Yeah.
right? So there was a lot of really interesting choices. So I was in on it, and but then I found out it just the fucking
Just fucking
screener
up.
was shitty. So when I did the home release, I literally went to the sequences where they spoke Spanish, and I was like, "Oh, that's what they said."
Oh, context.
God, change the whole movie. Stuff I figured out on my own, they just fucking told you. But with Prey, I thought it was really clever that it was designed that way,
Right on.
and I do hope that I can figure out, just because it's a bigger TV, that I can get the Comanche dub to work so that I can watch it. I do want to revisit the film. And what I did watch of the Comanche dub didn't bother me a whole lot, knowing that their mouths weren't quite in sync. It works well enough that it didn't bother me at all. But I have to agree, Amber Mid Thunder
Mid Thunder's
does a
that
great job.
business.
What's that?
I said Mid Thunder was that business in this movie.
I only recognized her from one other film, Ice Road, which is on Netflix. For those of you that haven't seen it, it's an actual. It's a Liam Neeson movie, but it's not the same Liam Neeson movie that you've gotten from Liam Neeson over the last few years.
Oh, it's not the memory. Ugh, boy, that movie.
Well, I'm not talking about quality of film.
Ah,
It's not bad though. It's got some great action sequences, and she plays a truck driver,
okay.
just like Neeson does. Apparently, she was also in Hell or High Water, which I've also seen, but I do not recall her being in it.
Same.
But
I saw that and I was like, I don't remember it, but I'm using that as an excuse to rewatch Hell or High Water.
whatever it takes.
Yeah.
Whatever it takes. But she's fantastic in this. The cast that they've got actually is really, really strong. And the fact that, and I feel dumb for this, the poster that they used for Prey, the first one, has her with the I don't know what the appropriate term is for the makeup that she's wearing.
Yeah.
But the fact that it was green in the poster, I looked at Crystal and I was telling her what I'm about to say to you. And I was like, yeah, I saw the poster and my brain didn't go that, oh, it's the Predator's blood. I fucking love that. At the end of the movie, she's carrying the head and she's got the blood and this, that, and the other. And Crystal, who's not watched it, went, well, yeah. Of course, that's what it was. My wife, who is heavily sleep deprived and can't remember what goddamn day it is, was like, yeah, you idiot. It's Predator's blood that was on her face. Like,
hey, as long as you got there, Doug, it doesn't matter who got there first, as long as you got there.
Sometimes my lack of observation skills works in my favor because then I get to go to a movie and be surprised.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then other times I watch a movie and go, I know where this movie is going to be before the end of the movie. And it's a fucking bummer. Nick Cage movie.
Yeah, that's
Blade Runner 2049. Oh.
Yeah, I think we kind of knew what was going to happen, and I was still eating it up like popcorn. Yeah, that is it for this episode 73 of the Cinnamon Man. Talking about fourth wall breaks. Hopefully you enjoyed. Let us know what some of your favorite fourth wall breaks are on all the social medias, man. You got anything before we wrap this bad boy up, sir?
Watch more movies.
Mm-hmm.
Just do it. And by that I don't mean just in general. I've seen, it's August now, and I've seen a lot of people mention movies that came out in like March and go, this is the best movie of the year. There were been 5 more months, ladies and gentlemen. Theys and thems, watch more movies. Please.
I'm pretty sure the movie that I saw came out in like March, April. Best movie of the year, damn it. Ain't nothing toppling Top Gun right now.
Until RRR came out, my number one movie of the year I saw in January. So I totally understand that. However, I have a list of currently 45 movies that span from now until the 1st of January. There's been some solid fuck movies this year. I mean, I say that about every year, but these last couple of years I've had lists going to 75 and 80 of favorite movies for a year. but I watch a lot of movies. So I'm just saying, please watch movies. They're wonderful. They're a great way to spend time with friends and family. Watch them by yourself. Watch dumb movies. Watch smart movies. Watch movies that challenge, and watch movies you've seen a million times because they make you feel good. Watch movies.
There you go. That's it for this episode of Cinnamon. We will be
Woo!
back here, and hopefully we'll keep our schedule on rolling here 2.5 weeks with more goodness for you. We're almost to the quarter hundred or 3/4 of 100 episodes, man. We're coming up on 75 soon. We will
We already
do
blew our wad on 69. We're gonna have to just chill
you
on
still get a
75.
standard ass episode for 75. Until then, you all take it easy and have a good one.
Later.